The New York Knicks are NBA champions for the first time in 53 years, closing it out with a 94-90 win over the San Antonio Spurs in Game 5. And the footage coming out of that building, from the court, from the hallways, from the press room is everywhere right now. So let's get into every piece of heated footage between Jalen Brunson and Wemby that's taken over the internet. Jalen Brunson was named the Finals MVP, scoring a series-high 45 points in the closeout win. He said, "It's everything I ever dreamed of on the court during the celebration." But while New York was in full party mode, the footage that spread fastest that night wasn't of the confetti or the trophy. It was of Brunson and Victor Wembanyama, and the fire between them that built all series long, boiling over right there in the final moments and in the press room after. Brunson and the Knicks were heated after Wembanyama closed underneath him and no call was made. This was the New York Knicks versus the San Antonio Spurs, Game 5 of the 2026 NBA Finals. That single clip got shared everywhere, hundreds of thousands of views within the hour. People couldn't believe what they were seeing. But to understand why that moment hit so hard, you have to understand the full weight of everything that led up to it, because this didn't start in Game 5, not even close. The Knicks stole home court advantage in Game 1, before the Spurs bounced back in Game 3 with a 115-111 win at Madison Square Garden. Then New York completed the greatest comeback in NBA playoff history, erasing a 29-point halftime deficit to take Game 4, 107-106. So walking into Game 5, New York was leading the finals 3-1, sitting one win from its first championship since 1973. While San Antonio needed a win at Frost Bank Center just to extend the series, Wemby carrying elimination weight, the whole city watching. And that's when things got ugly. The Knicks star went at the officials in the third quarter in a heated protest of another non-call against San Antonio phenom Wembanyama. Brunson appeared to have legit beef after Wemby got away with a landing zone foul on a three-point attempt, with 5:35 left in the third quarter. Brunson landed on his foot and appeared to twist his ankle, and then sat on the parquet for a moment as the Knicks fumed over the non-call, and the internet lit up. Brunson pulled up at the top of the arc to launch his three while Wembanyama outstretched his arm to contest it. As Brunson came down, Wemby stuck out his right foot into the Knicks guard's landing space, and he was caught looking down, which made it look anything but accidental. A very angry Brunson got up and pled his case to a nearby ref, as did coach Mike Brown. Following a whistle at the other end of the floor, Devin Vassell hit a three-pointer to extend the Spurs' lead to 62-53. Brunson immediately went at referee Tyler Ford, as coach Mike Brown pleaded his case to officials at half court. Knicks veteran Jose Alvarado ushered Brunson away. The reactions came fast. Tom Haberstroh of The Athletic wrote on X that Wemby should have absolutely been called for a flagrant on that. He pointed out that a flagrant would have suspended Wemby for a potential Game 6 and said Brunson had every right to be livid. Injury potential, perceived favoritism, and scoreboard impact. Unreal. Bill Simmons put it even more bluntly. Cannot believe that. And then, after the final buzzer sounded and the Knicks had won the whole thing, Wemby walked into that press conference, and what happened next is the clip that's still playing on everybody's timeline. Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs fell 94-90 to the New York Knicks in Game 5 of the NBA Finals, losing in front of their home crowd at Frost Bank Center after blowing yet another double-digit lead. You lose a championship on your own floor, in front of your own fans, after blowing a lead again, and then you have to sit in front of a room full of reporters and answer questions about it. That's a brutal thing to ask of a 22-year-old. After the game, Wembanyama, who had 19 points and 14 rebounds, but shot just 7 for 19 from the field, spoke with reporters. The performance was frustrating on its own. He was held to just 19 points in 38 minutes in the final game of the season, closing out a series that was supposed to herald his arrival as the new face of the NBA, but instead invited close scrutiny of his play. He answered the questions. He was honest. He sat there and said things that cut deep, not toward anyone in particular, but at the situation. What I'm pissed about is that there's probably 100 games before we can be back in finals, Wembanyama said in the post-game press conference. So, I don't know how to say it in English, but I'm going to have to hold that inside of me and slow down and wait and execute for 100 games. That quote, that's not a guy who's defeated. That's a guy who's burning. That's someone who knows exactly how good he is and can't stand the idea of waiting an entire season just to get another shot. Wembanyama framed the loss as the biggest learning experience of his life. "I think that doesn't compare to anything before," he said. "This is the biggest lesson of my life, the biggest learning moment." But here's where it gets strange. To wrap his press conference, after answering all of the media's questions, Wembanyama delivered a line that nobody expected. "Appreciate y'all," he said as he stood up to leave, then added, "See y'all never." That clip exploded. The year ending on a sour note only adds more fuel to the fire for the 7'4" superstar and his Spurs teammates. But people couldn't agree on what to make of that sign-off. Was it petulance? Was it a joke? Was it raw pain leaking out in the worst possible way in front of a room full of cameras? He accumulated 3 flagrant foul points in the postseason, one short of an automatic suspension, though not for lack of trying, as he had several questionable plays overlooked by officials in the league. So he's also a guy who spent the entire series watching himself get calls against him while simultaneously watching obvious fouls on him go uncalled. That builds up. All of it builds up. And when you lose the championship, sometimes everything that's been building comes out right there at the podium. He said, "This has been a hell of a year in terms of experience. I don't think we could have learned more and gained more experience in one player, in one season." That last press conference is a complicated thing to watch. He's 22 years old. He just lost the NBA Finals. He'd been physically targeted all series, and he walked out telling the media he'd never see them again. It was messy. It was real, and it went viral for a reason. Now, here's the thing. The Game 5 non-call on the three-point landing zone didn't come out of nowhere. This wasn't the first time in this NBA Finals series. The refs missed an obvious foul from Wemby on Brunson. There was a pattern to this, and once you see the full picture, you understand exactly why Brunson was so explosive in that third quarter. It goes back to Game 3. The physical battle in the NBA Finals took a strange turn during Game 3, with Brunson finding himself at the center of a heated moment that left everyone looking for answers. The incident happened early in the first quarter, with just around 5 minutes left on the clock. Brunson was trying to fight for position near the free throw line against Wembanyama. Wemby placed his hand on the back of Brunson's head and neck. He then gave a hard downward shove that sent Brunson to the floor. No whistle was blown by the officials, and play moved down the court. Now think about that. The star of the opposing team puts his hand on your neck and shoves your head into the floor in the NBA Finals, and gets nothing for it. Josh Hart took the ball up the court, and Brunson was fighting for position with Wembanyama just above the free throw line. After about a second of physical contact between the two, Wembanyama can be seen shoving Brunson by the head into the ground. Fans continued talking about it after the game, and a new angle of the incident surfaced, still unclear, but the clip showed that Brunson may have pulled Wemby's jersey, potentially prompting the center to retaliate with a push. That detail is important, because it became the dividing line in how people interpreted the whole series. Some said Wemby was provoked. Some said it didn't matter. You don't put someone's head into the floor regardless. The video, posted by Dusty Garza on X, was watched more than 5 million times, generating hundreds of reactions. The NBA got involved. If the shove had been upgraded to a flagrant foul, it could have had significant ramifications on the rest of the series. When a player accumulates 4 flagrant foul points in a single postseason, they're automatically suspended for 1 game. Wembanyama had 2 flagrant foul points at that stage, both from a single play. After the Spurs' Game 3 win, the NBA acknowledged that officials failed to call a foul on Wembanyama against Brunson. However, upon review, they found the foul was not worthy of a flagrant one. So the league essentially said, "Yeah, we missed it, but we're not going back and fixing it either." That decision didn't sit right with a lot of people. Wemby had gotten ejected from Game 4 of the Spurs-Timberwolves series in the Western Conference semifinals, which gave him 2 flagrant foul points. He then picked up a flagrant 1 foul for elbowing Karl Anthony Towns in Game 4 of the finals, bringing his total up to 3 points. If he reached 4, he would have been automatically suspended for a game. So the stakes around every Wemby-Brunson confrontation weren't just physical. They were existential for the series. One more flagrant call and Wemby misses a game. The entire NBA Finals could have been changed. If the hosting Spurs got the win in Game 5 after the refs missed what should have been a flagrant one on Wembanyama. On Brunson's tough three-pointer, Wemby failed to get out of his landing zone and made foot-to-foot contact as Brunson went to the ground. That should have been an automatic flagrant 1 foul and would have suspended him for Game 6. Instead, the refs just flat out missed the call and kept things going. That is the kind of thing that makes a star player sit down at a press conference and say he never wants to see the media again. So how did Jalen Brunson handle being physically targeted game after game, shoved to the floor, having fouls go uncalled on him, and watching the refs look the other way? He answered it the way he answers everything on the court, and in one specific press conference moment after Game 3 that you have to go back and watch. After the game, all eyes turned to the post-game media. A reporter asked Brunson what happened between him and Wembanyama in the first quarter, and also asked if the physical play from San Antonio was starting to bother him. Brunson's answer, "Whatever you saw is what you saw. That's it." That's all he gave them. 5 words, cold as ice. Saying too much can lead to heavy fines from the league office for complaining about the refs. It can also give the opposing team extra motivation for the next game. Brunson knew exactly what he was doing, and then he went back out in the next game and did what he always does. Brunson finished Game 3 with 32 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, while Wembanyama matched him with 32 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. 2 superstars, both going off, one of them physically targeting the other, one of them saying nothing and letting the game do the talking. Knicks coach Mike Brown used his post-game press conference to complain about the second-half whistles. So the frustration wasn't just in Brunson's head, it was coming from the coaching staff too. The Knicks felt they were being given less protection than the other team and they weren't quiet about it. And then the outside voices started pouring in. One such incident was Wembanyama's shoving of Jalen Brunson, and Draymond Green offered his 2 cents on the heated finals moment. And Draymond being Draymond, he didn't hold back. On his appearance on the Kevin O'Connor show, Green reflected on the Wembanyama-Brunson controversy from Game 3. He said that if Wemby did to Steph what he did to Brunson, he would have been thrown out. Green pointed out that he pushed him down, and none of the guys on the Knicks team did anything. Don't not for 1 second think that didn't matter. When asked what he would have done in that situation, Green said, "I'm probably gonna get thrown out right there, and it may cost us Game 3. And then Green went even further. He said flatly, "You're not pushing Stephen Curry by the back of the head down to the ground." Josh Hart was like, "Yo, no, you get right in there and you make something happen." So here's a 4-time champion watching the finals from the outside, telling the world that what happened to Brunson wouldn't have happened to his guy, and that the Knicks' lack of response sent a message to Wemby that he could do it again. And then in Game 5, he did it again. Different foul, same energy. Some fans pushed back, saying Wemby was being held all game. And when he finally reacted, people wanted him tossed. If refs were calling the holds, he wouldn't be as frustrated. One fan wrote, "Cat especially is holding." Others didn't buy it. Wemby overreacted to that. He could have got Brunson seriously injured or got himself ejected. Jersey grabbing is not something new, especially at that level. Wemby himself does it. The internet was split right down the middle. And that's exactly the kind of debate that keeps a sports story viral for days. Here's what you have to understand about Wembanyama's position going into that finals. He was the #1 overall pick in the 2023 draft and had added an NBA Defensive Player of the Year award to his trophy case this season, along with all NBA First Team and all Defensive First Team honors and his second All-Star appearance. In his 3rd straight season, leading the league in blocks at 3.1 per game, he finished 3rd in MVP voting. He led the Spurs to series victories against the Portland Trail Blazers, the Minnesota Timberwolves led by Anthony Edwards, and the 2025 NBA champions OKC Thunder, led by the 2-time reigning MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Think about what that means. He beat the reigning champions. He knocked out Ant Edwards. He won a 7-game war in the Western Conference, and then he got to the finals and walked into this. The calm he showed in some moments mattered, but the clip had more behind it. Jeremy Sochan, who played with Wembanyama on the Spurs before ending up with the Knicks, was heckling him from the bench during Game 5, and that made the heckling feel more personal than a random opponent trying to get under his skin. Sochan's knowledge of Wembanyama from their Spurs days had already been part of the series conversation, and a bench-side jab during a finals closeout game only sharpened that subplot. The French star dealt with physical play, boos from traveling Knicks fans, and constant attention throughout the series. And then he blew another double-digit lead in the biggest game of his life. San Antonio blew yet another double-digit lead in the 94-90 loss. The Spurs led by 16 points. The fifth consecutive game in this series, they led by double figures. The Spurs had limited the Knicks to their fewest points in any first half all season, just 37 points, as Wembanyama blocked 5 shots before the break. But a 10-0 Knicks run tied the score at 83, with 4:48 left. New York took its first lead just 1-8 later, when Brunson, who racked up a game-high 45 points, made 3 free throws to give New York a lead it would never surrender. Brunson scored 13 straight points in the fourth quarter himself. He hit a go-ahead floater with 65 seconds left in Game 5. His 45 points were the most by a Knick in a finals game. And after the final buzzer, while the Knicks celebrated, Wemby had to sit through that press conference, with everything that had happened across 5 games sitting on his chest. Even after a grueling run in the 2026 playoffs that pushed his 7'4" frame to its limits, Wembanyama sat at the podium with the stark clarity of a superstar who had just glimpsed the summit but failed to reach it. He didn't shy away from the emotional weight of the defeat. Instead, he framed the heartbreak of the basketball world's grandest stage as a catalyst for personal growth. But it was the sign-off that people are going to remember. Appreciate y'all. See you never. Some people called it childish. Some people called it honest. At 22, having just gone through what he went through. The fouls, the scrutiny, the no calls, the heckling, the blown leads, the lost championship. Maybe there's room for both. With the defeat, Wembanyama expressed his frustrations about having to go through an entire season again, just to get the same shot as they had in the playoffs, before sending a warning to the entire league for his return next year. That's the part people should actually be paying attention to, not just the press conference meme moment, but the fury underneath it. The guy who said he's pissed about having to wait 100 games to get back to this stage, that energy doesn't go away. It festers. It sharpens. The Knicks won the series 4-1, rallying from double-digit deficits in all 4 of their victories. The Spurs led in every single game they lost and still couldn't close it. That's the thing that'll haunt Wemby more than the shoves, more than the no calls, more than anything anyone said to him. On a bench or in a press room, he was up every time he was up, and it still wasn't enough. So the footage that's going viral right now, Brunson limping off a foot Wemby stepped under. Brunson screaming at the ref, the "see you never" sign off. The burning look in Wemby's eyes at that podium. It's all chapters in the same story. A 22-year-old superstar who came inches away from the best thing in basketball. A 30-year-old point guard who got shoved, stepped on, held, and still scored 45 to win a ring. And a rivalry that is absolutely, without question, not finished. We've got something special coming in the NBA for a long time.